Hey, how's it going? My name is Vashlos, if you didn't already know. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I want to talk to you about my Legacy of Phrecia League starter, and that would be the Surfcaster. This is a little bit of a theory crap. This is a little bit of a work in progress. This is not to convince you that this is going to be the best League starter. This is not to tell you that I'm going to be doing umpteen billion DPS or I am going to be nigh unkillable. Nope, this is just my plans, and if they sound good to you, I hope that you will join me as I am planning on moving pretty fast. So, I've been working on a character for the past couple of days, playing sparing amounts while enjoying other titles as well. And the idea behind this like mock-up playthrough, this trial campaign playthrough, is that I have not ascended. I'm level 63, haven't ascended yet, and the idea behind that was so that I could be as close to possible as what a Surfcaster would feel like, and not benefiting from what the Ascendancy like Trickster would normally be bringing me. So that's why I made this character. That's why I am sharing this with you today, as I'm fairly confident in the comfortability. I hope I said that right. Comfortability of this build. Quick table of contents, we're going to be going over the main skill for our Surfcaster and its support gems. We're going to be going over the secondary skill gems like auras, so on and so forth. We'll be going over our gear as well as some of the important modifiers that you should be paying attention to while leveling through the campaign. And to top it off, we will go over the path of building trees that I have whipped together for you today. Honestly, over the last couple of days. But yeah, there are the things we'll be going over today, and let's go ahead and get started. It's going to be really easy for me to go off on a tangent, so I'll do my best to get through this as quickly as possible. We're starting off with the skills. Spark is our main skill, main damage dealer. The supports that you care about are Pinpoint, Spell Echo, Faster Projectiles, Inspiration, Faster Casting, and then while you're leveling, you'll be using Pierce and Arcane Surge. Pierce will be replaced by Faster Projectiles as soon as possible whenever you have Pierce on, say, your gear or on your passive tree. And then Arcane Surge is going to be moved over once you have access to something like Pinpoint, Spell Echo, honestly, anything else. But moving on, Arcane Surge will find a forever home next to Forbidden Right and Sniper's Mark in our weapon. I'll go over why later on. Frostbite, Elemental Weakness, Wave of Conviction, and Arcanist Brand. Purity of Elements, Grace, Enlighten, Petrified Blood. Vitality, Clarity, Haste. That'll be going in the shield because we'll use a Prism Guardian. Tornado, cast when damage taken. Immortal Call with automation. Frostblink and Shield Charge for the movement skills. When you are leveling, these three skills will help you out with additional single target damage. That would be Orb of Storms and Flame Wall, super early. And then once you get to Act 3 and complete the library for Syosa, be sure to pick up a Holy Flame Totem and replace Orb of Storms with that because it's just better and you don't want to be pressing too many buttons. Orb of Storms is nice until it isn't. Real quick, I wanted to give you guys an illustration of what the build's methodology looks like, or how to play the build in simpler terms. So, I've got a rare monster here. You will hit them with Sniper's Mark. You will then drop your totem, you'll drop your Flame Wall, and then you'll get the Spamming Spark. That is the single target methodology. For map clearing, you're just going to be spamming Spark, maybe occasionally drop down your Flame Wall, and you won't really worry about Holy Flame Totem or Sniper's Mark unless you're in a single target situation. Now, quick note on hasted modifiers for rare monsters. That makes them really scary. So if you get into that situation, hopefully you've got your Frostblink by then, and once the monster is just about to hit you, you'll Frostblink to the other side of him and start spamming. And once it's on cooldown, and he's about to hit you again, you'll Frostblink back over. But the great thing about this is that he's got a chill applied to him now, and that if you hit a rare or unique monster with Frostblink, it's got a little additional cooldown reduction, and it should be just enough to keep you dancing around that monster. And be sure to drop that Holy Totem too, as it will provide an additional target for the monster to get distracted by. I don't have a hasted rare monster for you for a perfect illustration of that, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. We've all come across a monster that is just way too fast, and I'd like to give you this little methodology to help you deal with that situation. I don't know if it's actually worth anything, but here you go. Now that the illustration is out of the way for build methodology, Let's talk about some of the items, and this is where it's going to get a little expensive, it's going to get a little complicated, it may require a future video to explain crafting processes. Certainly not going to get into crafting processes in this video, but I do want to mention things that I find important. So, the trigger a socketed spell on using a skill with a 4-second cooldown. We need this, and the reason why we need this is that if we plan on being self-chill, we will be putting Forbidden Right into this weapon, or any weapon with that modifier, and that will make Forbidden Right hit us and apply self-chill. With Leth Shade, that will make it last up to about 5 seconds, which is 1 second longer than 4. Hey, that's pretty nice. That being said, this modifier used to be a lot more achievable. You used to just get like Veiled Chaos Orbs and you would spam the item you were interested in until it happened and you could fracture it and proceed from there. Well, that's not possible anymore. They took that modifier away from Veiled Chaos Orbs and gave this modifier to the Temple of Atzoatl. Specifically, this trigger modifier for wands now comes from the Architect of Toxins, Takati. I left it here in the notes section. I gave you the POE Wiki link there. And I have no idea how rare that is. I have it pulled up on the trade site. It looks like the modifier itself on a one-hander is selling from like 5 chaos to 20 chaos. That is at the tail end of Settlers of Kalgur, by the way. So who knows how rare this modifier actually is going to be, but we will want to target the Temple of Atzoatl with the Architect of Poisons, Toxins. There's multiple tiers to it, but just know if it sounds like poisons, you're definitely going to want to choose that Architect for a chance at getting one of these modifiers. Once you have it, like I said, you'll fracture it and hopefully proceed from there because those other modifiers on there aren't really going to be as achievable unless you've fractured it first. So, moving on. Oh, and Demon's Horn is like super ideal because of the added fire damage. It'll allow us to benefit from Sadist, which is a cluster jewel notable. Prism Guardian. We use this because we're low life. We want more auras. Not much else to say about it. Gives you dexterity and resistances. It's very nice. The other rare items in the build, they're going to be evasion and energy shield dual typing items. We're going to be using Grace, and we will be hybrid life and energy shield. So that hits all of the bases. And it also opens us up to even more spell suppression chance, which can alleviate pressure from our passive points, and vice versa. The gear could alleviate pressure from passive tree, and then the passive tree could alleviate pressure from the gear. Necrotic Armor. These are all just going to be like the highest tier bases, by the way. Necrotic Armor is the highest tier base. Spell suppression, and then you're going to craft it with an essence so that you can get Onslaught when hit. And like I said before, Forbidden Right is going to be performing that on hit function. Fingerless Silk Gloves. Here is the crux of the build. You will want one of these as soon as possible. That is not easily done. You're going to have to acquire quite some currency to start working on these, and even then, you'll need to be lucky, as the Fingerless Silk Gloves will need to be a Shaper and Elder dual influenced item, and if I'm not mistaken, you'll also want it to be a certain item level. I'm pretty sure you want it to be like item level 86 gloves or item level 85 gloves. This is just me pulling at straws, right? Like, I have no guarantee for you if that is the correct item level, but this is the correct gloves. These are the modifiers that you want on the gloves. You definitely want it to be Shaper and Elder influenced, otherwise you won't be getting things like Socketed Gems are supported by faster projectiles, Socketed Gems are supported by faster casting. That's all I'll say about these gloves for now. I'll go over them in a future video. I don't know why I was stuttering so much there, but we're moving forward. New item, Phantom Boots. This is highly likely to be replaced by a pair of Rollikeshes and Patience, but those are pretty expensive. I don't want to make you think that the build isn't playable without them. Get yourself a pair of nice evasion and energy shield boots, movement speed, resistances, spell suppression. Dual influence it with Eater of Worlds and Searing Exarch. You'll be just fine until you get those Rollikeshes and Patience. Amber Amulet. We want strength wherever we can get it so that we don't have to pick it up or craft it on our gear whenever possible. Other than that, plus the skill gems, life, resistances, not much else. Anathema. This raises our curse limit based on how many power charges we have. Since we're not using the traditional self-chill ring combination, it opens us up to Anathema, and we certainly appreciate that. The ring is where we'll pick up a healthy amount of strength. This is the one strength item that you will want to craft. You'll craft it with the essences for that 55 strength or more. Or, I think it's like 50 to 58 on the deafening tier. Cast speed, life, damage recoup, resistances, but most importantly, non-channeling skills have minus to total mana costs. Our mana costs are going to be pretty exorbitant, so wherever we can reduce those mana costs will be very nice. Stygian Vise's resistances, life, energy shield, and it opens us up to solving corrupted blood very conveniently by putting in an Abyssal Jewel with that implicit. Let's go on towards the jewels. Militant Faith. I'm going with Militant Faith because we passed by +1 power charges. I don't know if I'm going to want to anoint Charisma or what is the other power charge on the opposite side called? Yeah, we're either going to want to anoint Overcharge or Sovereignty. Sovereignty if we need the reservation, obviously, and then the power charge is just going to go burr with High Templar Dominus. I'm really struggling to get through every single word I have to say with this video. But High Templar Dominus is the timeless jewel you want. It's a Militant Faith. Ideally, you will get one that does not affect the nearby notables, as it will be on top of a couple of useful ones. Just make sure that you're not buying one that overrides those. And Inner Conviction is what we want from High Templar Dominus. Gives you more spell damage per power charge. And I think we'll have 4 or 5, depending on that anoint. But still, very nice. You could also path towards here, I guess, if you want to rework things a little bit, but I don't think that's quite super efficient. We're not like a power charge stacking build. This is just an easy way to get some more spell damage with things that we already have going for us. That's enough about Militant Faith. Here are the large cluster jewel. This is the ideal large cluster jewel. You don't have to get it to be a one-to-one translation. If you've got currency to burn, this is what you should work towards. Sadist, Snowstorm, Disorienting Display. I'm sure there's another suffix notable there that will force Sadist, Snowstorm to the bottom, but that is what you are picking up Disorienting Display to do. It makes Snowstorm, Sadist move to the start of that cluster wheel, because those are the nodes that you care about. Sadist is really powerful, and so is Snowstorm. Don't sleep on it. Items. Back to it. This is the Ascendancy, but we'll talk about that after. Unnatural Instinct. This is not necessary, but it is certainly a good location for it. Gives you a bunch of cast speed. It gives you some attack speed, spell damage, a little bit of life, movement speed. I like Unnatural Instinct living right here, so absolutely not necessary, but certainly something to spend a small amount of currency on if you feel comfortable with it. Here it is. This is the Ascendancy section. So, 4 Ascendancies. The first one, Ghost of the Deep. It's too universally good to pass up during the campaign. 30% increased movement speed, increased cast speed, increased damage. It's got everything we could possibly want. The second Ascendancy is going to be Stormy Seas, so that we can convert our lightning damage over to cold. That's a defensive layer. Glacial Wave will be our third Ascendancy. Enemies chilled by your hits lessen their damage dealt by half of the chill effect, another defensive layer. And then enemies chilled by your hits have damage taken increased by chill effect. Free offense. So, Glacial Wave, that'll be the third one. And then the final Ascendancy will be Changing Seasons, so that we can start benefiting from the effect of chill. All damage taken from hits can chill you. The effect of chill on you is reversed. The reason why Changing Seasons should be your final Ascendancy is because it is rather dependent upon your gear to have good quality of life. You will still be hit and benefit from reverse chill if you choose this as an earlier Ascendancy, but it won't be consistent in a way that feels good. Instead of happening every time you're using a skill, something based on your decision, you'll have to wait for a monster to come punch you in the face or shoot you with an arrow from afar, or you'll have to press Forbidden Right solo. Like you just have to every 5 seconds press a button, which could be a little tedious for some people. Not the end of the world, right? You can certainly do that until you get the gear solved, but I'm almost confident that you're going to be enjoying Ghosts of the Deep, Stormy Seas, and Glacial Wave far more than changing seasons before you get that gear solved. Before we move on, I want to talk to you guys about fishing rods, specifically in reference towards the Ascendancy nodes, Screaming Reels, and Bated Breath. I was originally planning on using Screaming Reels because 50% more cast speed sounds just too good to be true, but that's the thing. It might be too good to be true because fishing rods have some serious downsides. Let's start off with how you obtain them, shall we? You have to wear a Fairgraves tricorn, which is a unique helmet. You aren't going to have a unique helmet right off the bat on a new league, and there is the possibility of scarcity if multiple people are looking to farm fishing rods. So who knows how expensive a Fairgraves tricorn is going to be on league start. But to boot, when wearing this helmet, the fishing rods can only drop from unique monsters that you kill, so you have to kind of find spots to farm them efficiently. That would be Kaum's Stronghold for the unique totems, and then the Grain Gate with the Gimling Legionnaire, as that is a condensed location of multiple unique monsters, and you can just spam them because they're in the campaign. So that's how you would obtain them, right? And they are still extremely rare. It's not like you're going to put on the helmet and then go and find a fishing rod after going killing unique monsters a couple of times. No, they are pretty rare, and they also have some extreme quirkiness about them. As Reddit has recently discovered, you cannot use attacks with fishing rods at all. That means Leap Slam, that means anything. Lightning Strike, you name it. You cannot use attacks with fishing rods at the moment. Maybe this is not intended, maybe they just never thought about it, but nope, you cannot do that, even though I think fishing rods have a small amount of physical damage on them. So even then, there's still some quirkiness, such as apparently a lot of the crafting that you would normally do with a weapon competing for the same item slot, you just can't do it for fishing rods. Apparently one of the best fishing rods, if not the best fishing rod outright, is Reefbane, a unique item that just gives you 40% increased cast speed. It's a global cast speed, but you're missing out on a lot of modifiers, and you certainly can't do self-chill like that. You can do self-chill if you're spamming the helmet trigger, but I don't really want to press more buttons than I already have to in this game. So there's quite a few things working against me wanting to pick up a fishing rod for Screaming Reels. I'm not going to say I'm not going to do it. I really want to. It sounds like a whole hell of words. It sounds like a whole hell of a lot of fun. But it sounds like a novelty, if you ask me. I'm going to try and pick up a Reefbane, or at least some fishing rod, and see how it feels. But I've got this feeling at the bottom of my stomach that it's just there to be flavorful. And I think a lot of people are really underestimating just how painful it will be to farm your own with a Fairgraves tricorn on. With that being said, that's everything I wanted to talk to you about for fishing rods. So let's go ahead and move on. We are now at the passive skill tree section of the video. I've got 3 passive skill trees for you. That would be the leveling tree that you see here now. There is the Cluster Jewel and Self-Chill late game tree. So you've got your gear figured out. And then there is the Chaos Inoculation variant. Just a couple of notes on this. The only reason I'm including this is to provide you an additional option if you don't like my plan that I'll be going forward with, which is the leveling and Cluster Jewel trees. Asterisk, this changes a whole heck of a lot about the build, and from prefixes to suffixes to many things that I have here in the skills and items section would need a pass over to understand the differences between being Chaos Inoculation and low life, right? It's more than just passive points. There are even support gems that you may want to change out for even more recovery layers, since you're not near things like Divine Shield and so on and so forth. But I pulled this over from PoE Ninja. Hopefully somebody finds it useful if you are frustrated by chaos damage and don't really care about being a little bit faster from self-chill and a little bit more damage from Pain Attunement. Moving on. Leveling tree. You are basically going to make a beeline for Trickery. You're going to make a beeline for Nimbleness and the Intensity Mastery for the +1. And then you're going to make a beeline for Piercing Shots and the 15% more Projectile Speed Mastery. I don't care how you reach that. You can travel down here, and then you can just spend 2 Dexterity and reach it faster if you like. You can go the way that I have originally intended, which I would recommend in all honesty. I think there's a lot of good stuff up here, and passing through the life and energy shield is more than necessary if you ask me. But the passive tree is not set in stone. Feel free to play around. You can conserve passive points in whichever way you feel comfortable. But I'm fairly confident in what I have chosen. Before you go, I would like to give you a quick comparison of what the character will look like when you're going through the campaign versus what the character will look like when you're a little bit more fleshed out with gear and passive points, and you're vibing with that self-chill central theme. So this is the campaign. Proven. The rare monster. That's really it. You run around, clear screens. Whenever a rare monster shows up, you use everything you got. If the rare monster is really scary and fast, then you'll start using Frostblink to jump around. I will go over to my older character, Chill Dog Need Hot Choco. Let's see if I can run a map real quick. Cemetery. Tremble Valley. Sure. Does it reflect? No? Okay. Good enough for me. Just trying to show you what it looks like. Not trying to convince you that this is uber ready or the build of all builds. But this is kind of the speed that we're going to be working with eventually. Why did I choose Bramble Valley? What a terrible map. Not a headhunter. Never lucky. That's the build, right? The more cast speed you get, the better Spark gets. It is almost like a more damage multiplier, and the same goes for projectile speed. Really, really love those modifiers. And self-chill just makes you cast all that much faster. Who doesn't love 30% increased action speed? Oh yeah, I'm not using my Righteous Fire. Which I don't think our main characters are going to be doing, by the way. Oh, and I'm dead. So definitely not tanky, right? Definitely not tanky. Not even the most damage on this current character that I have. And I have a pair of those gloves. So, yet to be seen how fun it actually ends up being, how powerful. But these are my plans. Okay, I think that's just about everything I got for you guys today in this video. Thanks for tuning in to my League Start plans for Legacy of Phrecia Self-Chill Spark Surfcaster. Hopefully you found it entertaining. Hopefully you found it interesting. Hopefully you're able to use tidbits of information you may not have known about before in a new way. Whatever this video may have done for you, thanks for tuning in. You're absolutely fantastic, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Stay safe and have fun. Peace out. And get ready for February 20th. I cannot wait. Seriously, I feel like I am doing a terrible job of selling just how excited I am to get into this end of league event. Let's go! Log in!